Hello everyone, this is Sushi, your host is back with another episode. So let's start. If I ask you all a very general question, that who is the most important person in your life, who values you, understands you, knows you very well, what's going to be your answer? I guess many of us, without losing a second, would say that she is none other than our mother, who relentlessly thinks about the welfare of us, keeping her comfort aside, and is our teacher who never judges us for our actions, but show us the right path. Indians also pray to the goddesses who are in the form of women. Such image of womanhood gets more strength when we stand for the esteem of the victims by doing rallies, candle march, etc. It may create strong stand for our nation which are intolerant to the violation of women's rights. But is it really so? Or is just like a smoke screen behind which something dark is happening as well? There's a lot of debate upon equality of gender, which may sound very logical, but the figures doesn't seem as such. In the Indian census of 2001, the child sex ratio calculated was 927 girls for every 1,000 boys. But within 10 years, this ratio fell down to 914. In other words, practically millions of girls went out of these figures. Today, we are going to discuss about the heinous murders in the form of female forticide and infanticide, which is the sole reason behind such step fall in the sex ratio of the females. Female forticide refers to the abortion or destruction of the female fetus, usually in the first phase of pregnancy. The technology of ultrasound, which is supposed to be used to check any abnormalities of the fetus, but it also enables couples and doctors to check the sex of the baby, which is of course illegal, and abort if it's a girl. There is a question, right? Why only a girl? Why does it happen only with a girl fetus? Here comes the irony that the same people who are the child of a female mother think that growing a female child is a liability, maybe just because she have to leave the house after marriage and even have to give a lot of dowry along with it. But the thing which makes the thing colossal is the greed for a boy that would continue the family line, which makes them to go for a murder of an unborn innocent baby. As far as the condition of mother is concerned, even if she enters a trauma, she is made pregnant again and again until she carries a boy fetus, which affects her drastically in a physical and mental way. To make things crystal clear, I am going to throw some light on the few cases that after which you can get the things clear right away. Amisha Yanik, a resident of Ahmedabad, married in 1 December 2000. She discovered she is pregnant in the August of next year. Even she visited the clinic for her regular checkup. All was fine until her husband insisted her to revisit the clinic for further checkup. But instead of it, she was made unconscious under the influence of drugs. She woke up to find nothing but the fact that her baby had been aborted because it was a girl. It broke her apart, but even before she could have overcome this stress, she was pregnant again in the following year. And again it was found that it's not a boy. And guess what? The same incident happened as well. In the mere greed of having a boy child, it led to the series of 6 murders of girl fetus within 8 years. Unfortunately, in this bloodbath, doctor was in the support of the in-laws, and maybe that's why amid of all this agony, she gave birth to her first daughter. Maybe just because she was reluctant to leave for her mother's home at the prime time. But as we know that the pain has always an end, and she stood against this brutal killing only for having a boy child, for which in the middle of the night she was kicked out of her home. Not even that, her only daughter was kept like a captive, and in-laws demanded to sign the divorce in the form of exchange of her daughter. It's really hard to imagine under how much pain she must have been going through at that time. And it's the real scenario of our society where women are blamed illogically for not having a boy child. Amisha was lucky enough to get a lawyer who reunited her with her daughter and cased a file against those criminals. The thing is, she is not the only woman who have suffered, and further cases will show that. Parveen Khan, a resident of Morena, Madhya Pradesh, married in 1994. She gave birth to a girl child as a result of her first pregnancy. And guess what? Her husband left her in the hospital uninformed, which turned her happiness to sorrow. Within 3 years, she was tested positive for pregnancy, and this time her husband forcefully made her undergo the sex determination test, which resulted in a girl fetus, and against her will she was made to abort. Within the same year, she was made pregnant again, and due to her objections, her husband brutally pulled her by her hairs to the clinic, and she underwent the same agony of murdering an innocent life. In the persistent want of a boy, she was made pregnant again yet another year. But these reckless abortions made her weak, and she could not sustain the pregnancy, and the fetus died. After a year, she discovers she is expecting a baby, but this time she didn't disclose the fact just to save an innocent life. Unfortunately, she became a victim of domestic violence. She was beaten up by her husband by a hockey stick, and it was so horrible that she started bleeding seriously. There, her family discovered her pregnancy, but it was late for any abortions. She gave birth to a girl child, which irritated her husband and his family. Everything seemed to be good for a period of time, and girls grew up. But one day, in the rage of not having any boy child, her husband entered her room alone where she was sleeping. All those madness and greed turned him into a beast, and you won't believe what happened next. Her husband literally chewed her face and even pulled out flesh out of it and deformed her face. At the end, she got help and her face was successfully operated, after which she left the hell with her daughters to lead a simple life. I mean, what more can you do? Like really, you have only this choice left. We witnessed with these two cases that along with the killing of unborn daughters, mothers of them who keep them also suffer the same. And the reason behind it is quite simple, because they think having a girl is a liability just because she cannot continue the line of the family, which is actually very wrong, because it's only them who can help you to continue your family line. Because as a man you cannot give birth, I suppose. They think maybe spending on her is a waste, just because she would leave the home one day. Recent studies reflects pretty well that till 2011, states like Rajasthan, UP, Gujarat, Punjab, Haryana and even Odisha is stained with the blood of these innocent girls who never got a chance to see this world. And believe me, it's a good luck for them, because it's no good to see this horrible world like this. Moving forward, but as I mentioned earlier, due to this persistent decline in girls' sex ratio against boy, government made sex determination of an unborn child illegal under Prenatal Diagnostic Act in 1994 and can lead to imprisonment from 3 to 5 years along with a penalty of 50,000 to 1 lakh. Maybe our law doesn't seem considerate for those lives for which it has been poorly enforced, and thus the loopholes are misused by the authorities to earn money from those blind persons and even fake the results by telling it's a girl child even if it's a boy. These factors makes it inaccessible for a major fraction of narrow-minded persons. But if paved a way to committing another bigger and more heinous act of homicide, female infanticide. Female infanticide is the deliberate killing of a newborn girl child by any means of murder, either by one of the parents or any other family member. It may include starving the infant, toxifying, or applying physical force. This attitude is rooted in the complex set of personal factors and corrupted mindset that these people don't even find those innocence in the eyes of their own child and never hesitate to stain their hands with their own blood, just because it's not a boy. Infanticide is more common than the forticide in India, where infant girls within a few days are abandoned somewhere to starve or to get rid of her and is killed in the cruelest way possible. Regarding that, I am going to elaborate one case in which Mrs. Seta was admitted in May 2011 who gave birth to a girl child. Within 4 hours, the infant was found dead, badly injured. Case was filed and an autopsy was conducted in which it was concluded that the baby died due to the combined effort of manual strangulation, blunt injuries to head, chest and abdomen. Can anyone think of doing something more horrible than this? It really has no limit. Several cases are registered where infants are killed and dug without anyone's knowledge, or they are abandoned in the street or near garbage dumps where she can either starve or die due to weather or stray animals. Few of them are actually lucky to be rescued and they are taken care by the orphanage. If I ask you which category of people will participate more in this brutal act of killing, it would seem like illiterate and rural people can only think of these. Maybe because many link liability with economy. But it's not the case. When we see into the figures, according to 2011 census, girls' sex ratio in rural area is 943, and in urban areas where we think people are literate and so-called intelligent is 906. To add up to this, these responsible citizens mostly belong to national capital, Delhi, and advanced cities like Chandigarh where the ratio is way below the 900. And this case will justify that. Dr. Meetu Khurana, who is now an activist against female forticide, once faced the same scenario. Being a doctor, she also married a well-stable family of literate persons. However, when she was discovered to be pregnant, her husband, who is also a doctor, without her consent did an ultrasound test, which revealed that she has twin set of daughters. Although being financially stable, they dared to force her to abort at least one girl, so that the situation may remain stable for her. Yes, a doctor who promises and takes an oath to save every life, said to kill a daughter just because he thinks it's a burden. Due to this persistent pressure, she left to stay with her mother, where she gave birth to the twins. but her husband didn't come to take her back. After 2 months, because of the social reputation, her husband took her back to the home. One day, when Meetu, in purpose of traveling, wrapped her elder daughter with a blanket, handed the baby to her mother-in-law as she was asked to do so. She came down with another daughter, and when she turned back, she saw that her mother-in-law kicked her daughter from the staircase and the baby fell down rapidly. Just because the baby was wrapped in sheets, she survived. They were unhappy and so unhappy to have daughters, but this is way beyond imagination. And with such toxicity in their mind, it made impossible for her to stay there. And she left their home for good and filed a case against her husband and in-laws. Nowadays, all news and newspapers' columns are stuffed with the cases of rape, molestation, murders, etc. And we all see people standing for victims. But is it worth when girls are being killed even before they open their eyes completely? And it's not the baby who suffers. It's also the mother whose hands are tied due to the operation and is given the blame for everything. Laws like Medical Termination Act was passed in July 1971, which supposed to give the liberty to a woman either to keep the baby or to abort it based on her personal reason. But it is widely misused by the family to abort the girl child by forcing the mother, enabling them to stay out of the clutches of the law and order. For that, Prenatal Diagnostic Act was passed so that the sex determination of fetus can be stopped, which can improve the situation, and which is really not going to happen as we see this from here. As far as female infanticide is concerned, it was passed long back in 1870 by the British government, which prevents the murder of female infants. Even in the section 315 of IPC, infanticide is considered as the killing of an infant in the age gap between 0 to 1, which waits the similar punishment as the murder and homicide. These laws proved to be equivalent to ineffective, for which several supportive laws like Dowry Prohibition Act, Hindu Marriage Act, Immoral Traffic Prevention Act and Equal Remuneration Act was passed, which empowers a woman to stand against the unjust torture and importantly to eliminate the cause of killing such innocent girl child by those parents. But the thing which matters the most is the enforcement of law. We know that it's happening. We know where it's happening the most. But is it really affecting it even a little? Year by year, the lifelines of infants are snapped by this patriarchal society. I don't know what I can do or what we can do. I don't know if we can do anything. I don't know how we can make these sick people understand. I don't know if we can make them understand. Literally, I don't know anything. If you now ask me, because I really don't understand the reason, and I'm sure most of us don't, we can blame the education system. No, we can think of it as a solution, because it's clearly not. Education can only teach you what's right and what's wrong. But it's then your decision, and finally you take that final step. Education aways you of the consequences, but still, then I feel it doesn't matter. Just one more thing to add to this. No matter if you are a literate or illiterate, As a person, an individual, you will always know what's right and wrong in your heart because that's our conscience. We know the problem now and it's the time for solution, which is a simple one. Women is the only solution as is the problem. A woman gives birth to a boy. Then that man grows up and says he doesn't want a girl. Sounds disgusting, right? Just notice the difference. It's just the perception and the way we view things or are meant to see them. The mother who builds a child's character is the most responsible one. If you hate a girl, then you are hating yourself more. Slap him before he commits a crime, or else it will be too late. We women are more powerful than we think we are. Just think, we can do everything a man can, and also what a man cannot. Be the pioneer of the change once again, because this world needs you to stand up before it ends. You have always stood up to save this world, and it's that time again. I will end this episode here with this statement. You are the change, and you can bring the change. That's all from my side. Stay tuned to Asira for daily updates. I'm Sushi, your host, signing off.